Hey, blessed love, blessed love. How you doing, the Isaac family? How you doing? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. Thank you so much. What's going on? Hi, Fifi Johnny. How you doing? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. Yes. Thank you guys for coming out. Truly appreciate you guys. All right. All right, guys. Today we basically gonna be doing gardening questions, Q&A, question and answers. So anyone have any question, they could definitely ask Study because I know this is garden season coming. Right now it's here. The spring is actually here. So we got to get our mind and get everything together. So when the spring, when the after the frost, you can get and start planting. So if you have any question you want to ask Study, you could ask that question because we also know there's lots of new gardeners now and they want to know a lot. They asking a lot of questions and we trying to help as much as we can. Hey, Urban Garden Chronicles, how you doing? All right, okay. Hey, boy Blue, how you doing? Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for being here, Urban Gardening Chronicles. Thank each and every one of you for being here. I truly appreciate you guys. So yes, guys, for today, I'm gonna drop the link because sometimes if somebody have a question, they could come up and ask a question, and it's about gardening. Because today I've realizing that there's so many new gardeners out here. This year, there's so many new gardeners, and what we got to realize, we start impacting a lot of new people into gardening. I'm meeting a lot of people now who actually doing garden for the first year, and they ask a lot of questions. So today is the day for question. I will drop the link for anyone who want to come up and have a question so we could talk about it. I personally will answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know, I'm going to say I don't know. Okay? I'm not going to beat around the bushes. Okay? Hi, G Mama Grows. How you doing? Thank you for being here. All right. So I'm going to talk for a minute, then I'm going to drop the link. If anyone have any question, please feel free. Or if you don't want to, you could always put it in the comment section. All right. But today, let's talk about the basic of gardening. Let's go into the basic of gardening. I always mention, I always mention, as a gardener, and want to be a successful gardener, I believe that everyone should start preparing their garden the year before, which is the fall. Start putting your plan together. Start thinking what you want to do. Start thinking what you want to plan. Get all that together. If you have the room, start putting your compost together. Start setting up your containers. The soil that you're going to put in the containers, start putting them in the containers in the fall, in the winter. So by the time the spring come, you only waiting to plant. So it ease up the pressure on you when the spring come, busy time because you got to run here, you're trying to run there, you're trying to prepare. No, if you start preparing in the winter or the fall, life's gonna be a lot easier for you. And at that time, whatever soil you're using or compost you decide to use, it's gonna be breaking down at that time because you know these things need time to break down. When you take, I understand a lot of people got to buy certain things. I understand that. The people who have the space and have the leaf and have other things, save these leaves, put them in a corner, put them somewhere in a little corner and just leave them. You don't have to add anything to your leaf for it to break down. You don't have to add anything to your leaf for it to break down. It actually will break down for itself, especially if you put a little soil over them. That make it even faster. That make the process a lot faster. So start prepping your garden months ahead before planting time. All right? So, yeah, so what you do, you start prepping, you start thinking about your container, you start doing a little research about the plants and what plants you're growing and which size container you need. Because I'm going to tell you here today, it's a waste of time planting certain things in container that's not big enough. It's a waste of time. There's a lot of plants that their roots spread, and if these roots spread and the container is not big enough, what's going to happen? These plants going to basically start growing, and they will definitely not produce much fruits for you because you back the process of growing. So I personally will recommend invest in bigger containers. It's better for the container too big, which I don't believe it will ever be too big, than too small. Because the more room the root get, once you're taking care of that plant, the more room it get is gonna spread more. And that plant will have more life into it, and it's gonna produce a lot longer for you. You see, there's plants that produce from the time they start produce and they never stop until the frost. For the people who dealing with cold weather, they will never stop until the frost. But that depends on the care that you give to them. It depends on the care that you give to the plant. Okay? So number one, make sure the container is too big. That's what I'll say. Make sure it's too big and you will get a lot more progress. Invest in these things. You cannot cut short with these things. If you're looking for progress in your garden, you cannot cut short with certain things because you will always run into problem. You have to invest in big containers for great result. There's no shortcut in gardening. I don't believe it. You're gonna run into a brick wall. You're gonna run into a brick wall if you dealing with shortcut. Yeah. You're gonna hit a brick wall and you're gonna have to start all over. So let's just do this thing smart, and when I say smart, I mean let's just do it in a form that it could last for the long term and not short term. So do what you got to do wherever you located. Do what you got to do. Use whatever you have. I only could speak for myself and the resource I have that I can use. I cannot speak for everyone because everyone located in different places. But one thing I already know, there are certain rules in gardening that apply. Doesn't matter where you live in. You could live in the coldest part of the world to the hottest part of the world. There's always rules and things you got to do for a successful garden. And I personally been doing garden forever. So I've learned a lot over the years. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys I know everything because I'm still learning. But I have learned a whole lot when come to gardening. I do my own research, I do my own experiment, I pay attention to what I'm doing, I pay attention to the plants, I pay attention to the soil. I look into the soil deeply. I don't introduce anything out of my garden into my garden, and I have my reason for that. Because let me just say just a little about composting. Composting is very important and very serious, right? We all do composting different, but this depends on the level of composting you trying to do, you trying to go for. You could just go for a regular composting where you do whatever you feel like. But when you're doing things for the long term and trying to grow healthy organic food, you got to look into everything, which is the basic of where you start from. So your composting is very serious, all right? Now, people add meat, people add fish, people add whatever. Not knocking anyone for what they add. You do what you feel like doing. Maybe sometimes if you see something different, maybe you might choose to. But I'm not here to tell you not what to do and what not to do. I'm just sharing my experience in gardening, right? Hey, thank you guys for coming in. I'll get in the chat in a minute, all right? Appreciate you guys. Yes, so composting. I take composting very serious. And you got to remember, composting come natural. It could operate natural. Nature will automatically, your compost will automatically attract nature. And what they're gonna do, it's gonna attract bugs. There's a lot of bugs and insects that only feed on organic matter. That's all they feed from. Only organic matter. So the leaf, the rotten wood chichon, the grass clipping, that's exactly what they love. Earthworms, organic matter. These are the things that they love to feed from. So you create that area with only organic matter, the leaf and these things. They love that. That will draw them to your compost. And they will break that down, break that down, break that down, till you can't believe how fast they break it down. Now, sometimes we take the meat, for instance, meat. I personally will not put meat in my compost for nothing. I personally will not do that because meat create a certain thing in your compost and the oil. You see, where oil do, what oil do? Oil spread. And the meat, the oil from the meat kind of block the airflow because in your compost pile, you also do need an airflow. The oil will block the airflow from going and cause your compost to get contaminated, cause your compost to take longer to break down, and also cause a lot of different bacteria that nature attract to your compost. That meat gonna bring different bacteria into your compost that you really don't want no part of. This is why a lot of times we in our garden and we notice a lot of our plants have yellow leaf. We have, yellow leaf, and we wondering what could be happening. Why these leaves so yellow? Some people, run and get fertilizer. But my thing is, I will more look at the water, maybe too much water, or maybe not enough water, or maybe there's a bug eating away their roots. I see that in people's garden. I see that in someone garden where in a certain area they had plants and they was just turning yellow. All right? They were just turning yellow. So what they was doing, their option was compost. So I said, why you don't try liquor water and less water? Try that first. That didn't work. I said, why you don't try opening up the soil, go around their root? And what he finds some insect, parasite, eating the roots of his plants. Okay? So because of these things, I stay away from introducing anything to my garden. Guys, I'm not here to tell you what to put. You could do meat, that's you. I'm just not going to do it because I have enough knowledge to know what meat could introduce to your garden. I also have enough knowledge to know you eating a fruit. You eating a fruit, like you buy a fruit from somewhere. And while you're eating the fruit, you realize there's a worm inside of it or it have a decay inside of it. Right? So what happened is you say, all right, let me throw this in my compost. And without even being conscious enough to know, this thing that I know throw in my compost, maybe already lay eggs already. Maybe there's eggs inside of there. Now you introduce a new bacteria into your compost. We're going to start creating more bacteria. And the bacteria is what you don't want in your garden. So I'm just saying, I personally will not introduce anything to my garden unless I grow it. If I grow it, it's not going in my compost pile. That's me. But guys, you're free to do what you want. But to be a successful gardener with really great soil and always producing, there's rules you got to follow. I'm telling you. But I'm not here to tell you what you got to do or what you need to do. For the new gardeners that's really trying to learn something, I recommend you as a person. I understand. Sometimes we have our backyard, and just because we see other people go into the store and buy these compost and buy these different things, what we do, we feel like we need to do that as well. All right? But guess what? Sometimes your soil in your backyard is great. Your soil in your backyard is great. You just need to maintain your soil. Instead of going and add different thing to it, you maintain your soil and get your soil going. You don't have to. A lot of people neglect their soil in their backyard for other soil. Remember, a lot of times, a lot of things we introduce to our garden, and we got to be very careful about that because these things could create hazard in your garden. You want your garden to go decent, nice, stop introducing different things to your garden. Nature does not need meat to break down your soil. Nature don't need meat to break down your soil. Nature does not need fish to break down your soil. Absolutely not. I'm a full proof of these things. Full proof here. You don't need anything in your compost pile. Yes, if you have natural product that you want to add, fine. That's cool. Okay? You have organic, like you have cow, they eat grass fed, that could be a good compost for you. Chicken that eat organic food, that could be a good compost as well. Rabbit, organic food, grass and these stuff, that could be a good compost for you as well. But for me, I don't use anything because I don't see the need for me to use them. But for the gardeners out there and the new gardeners, I would not discredit using cow manure, chicken, rabbit, once once it is organic. But do what you can, whatever work for you. I'm just here sharing some information that I have some knowledge about and is up to you guys. All right? Okay, so we have a composting now. Let's ease on a different topic now. Don't want to stay too long on compost. We will deal with that next time. But guys, be careful about oily product in your compost. Be careful of oily products in your compost. All right? Be careful of that. Oily product create hazard in your compost. All right? Okay, so let me go in the chat before I move on. Hello, RG Living Life. Hello, Kasim the South Fulton. Hello, Psalms 146. Hello, Urban Gardening. Hello, Fifi Johnny. Hello, Jim Mama. Hello, Boy Blue. Thank you guys for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. All right. So guys, I'm going to drop the link, and anyone have any question about gardening could come and ask question about gardening. I will answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. If I can answer, I will definitely give you the best answer I know. All right. So I put the link there. If you have any question about gardening, you could come up and you could ask your question. Okay. And okay, let me look at a few of the thing in the chat. Let me see if we could answer them. Okay. True, a big container is an investment. Yes, guys, don't fall short with your containers. Please make sure you invest in big enough containers because you will run into a brick wall. Cheap container break within a couple of months. Right. That's the next thing again. Look into stuff that could last as well. Spend a few extra dollars that you could have containers going for years instead of a couple months. That makes sense. Hello, Kasim, the South Fulton. Okay, let me check. I had big container that crack when our temperature woke up. Invest in good container. That's all I can tell you. Especially you try to grow for long term, please do. Yeah, please do. I'm listening. All right, all right. Me either. That's different compost. Yeah, I'm not. You see, for the people who want to do meat composting, how I believe it can work, I believe if you're doing hot compost, like hot compost, because maybe the heat might kill the bacteria then. But just adding meat to your compost pile out there, I personally don't think it's a good idea. But I'm not here to knock anyone way of growing and doing their stuff, okay? I had a rat from the garden center plant. Okay. Meat doesn't belong to compost according. Yes, I don't believe it is. I really don't believe it is. For what I see, I don't think it is as for real. Okay, let me see. I'll be learning how to up in season. All right. I take your word for it planted. Food has been grown naturally for generations. That's how I learned to grow. Like yes, for exactly how people used to grow food years ago. What people do, people mimic nature. That's what people do. They mimic nature. So when you mimic nature, you ain't got to what. Let me just draw a reference. When you go through the trees, do you see anybody going inside there with compost? Do you see anybody going inside there with fertilizer? Do you see anybody going inside there with water? No, you don't see these things. This is what I do. I mimic nature. I observe nature and I see how nature works. And then I use that method into my garden. And as you guys can see, it's been working for me for years. Okay? Never went to the store and buy a bag of compost. Never went to the store and buy a fertilizer. Never. I start my garden from clay soil and turn it into a beautiful soil. But how I did that? Patient and discipline. Patient and discipline. And focus. I take my eyes off of every other product that people was promoting. I block myself from that. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it. And I walk just as nature, and it works out for me. Okay? Hey, make this go viral, LLC. How you doing? Thank you for being here. What's going on? Thank you so much for coming by. We appreciate you here. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, so if you observe the way nature operates and you use that method in your garden, I guarantee you will be happy. Over the years, I remember 1 year, I stayed away from my garden for about 3 weeks. I had some cabbage, I have cauliflower, I had all different kind of vegetables, edibles I had. And I stay away from the garden for 3 weeks. And when I come back, worms take over my garden. Them cabbage worms and the flies, they take over all my edibles. And I remember my grandmother and mother used to use vinegar and water, white vinegar and water, and spray their plants. And I used that and I was able to save some of my cabbage. Because what I do, he get rid of the worms then, and then the cabbage start growing over. So that's a good method to use as well. But over the years, what I have learned, this is why you got to pay attention in gardening and in your garden. Hey, Demood, how you doing? Hey, Tara Jones Williamson, how you doing? Thank you guys for being here. What I have learned that birds need these same worms. Birds need these same worms that eat in your garden up. You see what I'm saying? So what I start doing, I start building place in my garden that bird could come and land in your garden and just relax there. Pick the feather, do all this kind of stuff. And you know what start happening? The birds start feeding and the worms them and start taking the worms out my garden and go and feed their young one. So the birds start protecting my garden. You see what I'm saying? Just like that, the birds start protecting my garden. You see, this is why you got to pay attention to nature and you got to think. The worms and all these insects that's in your garden, the birds need them to feed their young ones. You see? So by you attracting the birds to your garden, the birds going to take the bugs out of your garden. All right? Okay. All right, thank you. You see, planter, I know that you plant your peppers and tomato at least 12 inches. Yes. Do you plant? The honest truth, Cassandra South Fulton, I plant everything deep. That's the honest truth. Cabbage, even my herbs, then I plant deep. Everything I plant deep because the rewarding is amazing. And I'm sure you see the rewarding in my garden. Plant anything you have deep. It's better. You use less water. You wouldn't have to be watering them every minute because their root is under. The sun does not penetrate. It takes a while for the sun to get down to that root. So once you wet them, the water gonna last for a while. You see? Because the sun is not able to penetrate that root until a certain time. So planting them is very important, planting deep. But thank you for, oh, no problem. Make this go viral, no problem. We appreciate you here. Thank you for being here, all right? We appreciate you. Okay. 9 years ago, I started gardening after retiring from the army. I did not my soil like that back. I had a terrible experience because my soil was not very good. I almost stopped gardening. Okay. Your soil was terrible, and it was mine was the same way. But I choose not to use any form of chemical, period. I just wanted to do things the way I see. Because I see people grow tons of food and never put any form of fertilizer around them. Tons of food, and I never see anybody put any fertilizer around them. So I maintain that. And guys, just be honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself. Don't just pay attention. It's number one is up to you and what you decide to do in your garden. It's either you want to grow organic or you want to grow chemical. That's your decision. Okay, that's your decision. But I'm here to tell anyone out there you can grow food without any form of chemical. Chemical mess up your soil. In a few years, you're going to find yourself back to square one trying to rejuvenate your soil. So do it right in the first. My soil was messed up, but I never gave up. And I still was planting. That didn't stop me from planting because I still use my same method of planting, just mean my soil wasn't that great. But over the years, I have definitely transformed it into, you guys can see, I have definitely transformed it into a different soil. Me and nature, not just me. Nature helps. All right? So if you get bad soil, please don't give up, guys. Let's keep going. Until I found square foot gardening. Okay. Thanks. Yes, plant everything deep. Great result. Great result. 2 years ago, I started working on my soil so I can plant in it. Okay. Just keep working on your soil, the moon. But the problem, let me tell you where we just messed up. This is why I say patience, discipline, and focus. Patience, discipline, and focus. Because what has happened, we just get distracted very easy on the TV, on something we might see a person use. I'm going to tell you guys this. A lot of people lie when come on the chemical they're using. A lot of people act like They don't give you the full truth of what's going on. They don't, maybe they just say no, maybe they're just using the chemical. But nobody tells you what this thing do to your soil. This thing turn your soil very sandy, like a sand over a period of time. Then you got to find yourself going back from square one, start working on your soil again. So what I'm saying is, do it right from the first time. Don't get caught up with a lot of people you see with the pretty tomatoes. And yes, that only for a period of time. In a few years, they will have to change that soil because that soil ain't good again. You see what I'm saying? So, what I'm saying is, do your soil natural for the long run. Okay? I do not use any chemical. Okay. I don't like what square foot. Okay, square foot I think it mean is boxes, like boxes. Like you make raised bed. Okay. In my garden, I never used to have the wood in my garden. I never had that before. I used to just dig in ground. The reason for me start putting the wood for the separation is because I plant on a slope. And when you plant on a slope, what happens is the water will wash through your garden and wash away all the hard work you did. All the hard work you did for all these years. The rain will wash it out your garden and wash it down the bank. And I'm saying, man, I'm working too hard for this thing. So I decide, okay, I'm gonna dig a trench around my garden and I'm gonna start separate it with the wood them so it can keep my soil from washing away. Okay, so if you plant it on a slope, you should dig a garden, a drain to the top and take it right around your garden and push it down to the bottom. Or you could use the wood to separate to keep the water from washing away soil. Because the water will wash away your soil. All right? Hey, big dog, Philly OG, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Hi, Dot X, how you doing? Thank you for being here. I have a plan that I set out to fix the soil and it's going to go okay. Guys, listen me guys. I want I want to break this down a little for you guys. If you really want a good garden with good soil, guys, listen to me. If you want a good garden with good soil, it comes with patience, discipline, and being focused. This is very important. Very, very important. I have tons of videos, guys, showing you the process of how I turn my garden from soil into a different type of soil. And the thing about it is, to able to turn clay into soil, that's some work you got to do. That you see, I become my own scientist when come on soil. I to myself, I didn't go college to study science about soil, but the experience and the research and not research on Google. I'm not talking about Google here, guys. This ain't Google. An experiment I did in my garden. I become my own scientist. Ain't nobody gonna fool me when come on soil. You check what I'm saying? When come on soil, you're not gonna fool me. Okay? All you gotta do, guys, let nature walk on your garden. Give nature the opportunity to do what it does best. Nature really don't need our help in the garden. What we do, nature already present the worms that needed in the soil. Nature already present the bacteria that needed in the soil. Nature already present all of that. The problem is we destroy them. That's the problem. We destroy them with all these things we use and encouraging people to use. We destroying all these things that nature already create in the soil. We use things, we spray, we this, we that, and we destroy them. Then our garden have no form of earthworm because you already destroyed them. Do you know how important earthworms are in your garden? Earthworms is very important in our soil. Don't get rid of your earthworm. Don't get rid of your bees. Don't get rid of your butterfly. Don't get rid of the birds. All these things comes with nature. Nature is what bring these things to your garden. You getting rid of them, then you messing up your garden. Okay. That's what I thought. Just okay, all right. Hi, Diversity Love. What's going on? How are you doing? I would legitimately cry if the rain was out. Well, right, Fifi Jordy, exactly. Hey, Rambo Greenson, what's up, man? It's not easy for you to work so hard. And then the rain come and just wash away all the compost you put around your plant. You understand? So do something to keep that rain from washing because it will. It definitely will. Sometimes you dig banks, and when the rain wash through your garden, your banks them come flat. It wash away all the soil that you pile up. Okay? So be mindful of that. Always create a drain to the top of your garden. Hey guys, give me 1 second, please. 1 second. Yes, so sorry for that, guys. What each gardener needs to do is pay attention to what's going on in their garden. Yes, pay attention to what's going on in your garden. See the kind of action that taking place in your garden. See the kind of progress that taking place in your garden. See where the failure is in your garden. Do all these things. If you got to put notes, you just got to put notes. Or if you could keep it in your head, that's fine. But this is how you excel to be great gardener. Great gardener is about learning every day. Every day you step in your garden, you should learn a thing or a few in your garden. You watch the plants them. You watch the size. You watch the year before the body, the size of the body of the plant. You look at it. You memorize the size. The next year you do the same thing. See if it's smaller this year or if it's bigger. These things very important. I know not everyone go to that level of gardening, but this is how you're gonna get to that place where everything become easy and simple. And now you just basically planting and just let nature do the rest. The birds protect your garden. The birds eat out all them bugs that eat up your tomatoes, that eats up your cabbage, that eats up the rain, the birds. So prepare places for the birds to land in your garden and get rid of these bugs, saving you from going and buy and spraying. You see what I'm saying? So it's saving you from buying and spraying these things on your plant, and then you have no idea what you're buying. Let me sit down. Do anyone have any clue what's in this bottle this spray? Is there anyone here could tell me this is exactly what you using and spraying on your plant? If there's anyone here, please let me know. I appreciate it. Hey, Lassos Johnny, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Let me see. Do you have idea for people who cannot get soil from their home? All right. Okay. If you cannot, thank you for that question. If you cannot get soil from your home, right? You just got to do what you got to do. This is the thing. You got to do whatever you got to do, because I understand you want to plant food and you start however you can start. But over the years, you could just keep learning and see things that you can do to change you from actually going and buy these things. So for the people who want to start gardening and cannot, don't have access to their own soil, well, I guess you will have to buy some soil. I guess you got to do what you got to do. I will not stand here and tell you, oh no, don't buy the soil, because everybody have their own situation and not everybody have access. So what I will say, do what you got to do. Buy some soil, some organic soil, and go on. But over the years, while you're learning, you know, all right, I'm going to do something different. So if you got to buy soil to start, just do what you got to do. I hope I answer your question, me Orji Living Life. All right, guys, this is a video. If you're interested in building soil, you can check out this video on the screen. Thank you, Fifi Johnny. Check out this video. It will help you. I have a lot of videos which could help you turn your soil into beautiful soil. And I have a video coming very soon, how to get rid of chemical out of your soil. I have a video coming very soon for that, so please tune in for that video very soon. How to get rid of chemical out of your soil. That's also a process. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it works. All right. Hey, Crafty Man Creation, how you doing? Thank you for being here. All right. So is there anyone have a question and want to come up on stage and ask a question? If you feel no problem, you can always come up and ask a question if you have any question about gardening, about soil, and how to plant. Because I'm getting ready to talk about planting in a minute. We talk about soil, so we're getting ready to go with the planting now. I would say purchase from reliable source. I know places that sell topsoil you can add your own compost to. Okay, right. So if you join say purchase from reliable source. So do your research. I personally cannot tell you where to go because I really don't buy these things. So I personally cannot tell you. But do some research and see where you can get stuff. But at the end of the day, learn to make your own soil. It's very important. Learn to make your own soil. All right. So I'm gonna drop the invite. If anyone need to ask a question, you can come up and ask a question. Okay. Do you recommend any liquid composting? Okay. Do you recommend any liquid composting? All right. The only liquid composting I personally would use, right, is from weeds that grows up in my garden. You know, the weeds that grows up. I will take them and I will add them in a container with water and leave them for a couple of weeks, and then use that water for compost juice. I cannot recommend any other things out there because I don't use them. I don't know what's in them. So I don't want to tell anyone to go out there and buy this kind. You can make your own compost juice. You could use weeds around your garden. You could use, like if you have certain trees, you'll be surprised that if you have oak tree, the leaf from oak tree, you could use that and make composting. The leaf from pine straw, you could use that and make composting. So there's a lot of things out here naturally we can use and make composting. What we do, we take them, throw them in water and leave them for soak for a few weeks. That's composting for me right there. But somebody is going to tell you, oh, somebody is going to recommend you to go to the store. On my channel, we ain't trying to spend any money. We're using natural remedy so we could create a natural environment, not just for us, but for the birds, for the butterfly, for the bees, and everything else around us. We're not trying to destroy anything that we need around us. So these things will definitely help you create compost. Oak leaf, pine leaf, the pine straw, beautiful thing for me compost. And these are natural compost. You use them for a few weeks, soak it in the water, and then you take the water and you throw around your plant. Even though I did a video, welcome the mood, what's up?
Hey man.
All right, give me 1 second. I did a video recently where I used the aloe plant. I used the aloe plant and a matter of fact, I had 3 house plants, right? And the house plant them they dried down to the leaf, to the stalk. And something tell me, man, just blend up these aloe leaf and just wet them with the aloe leaf once a month. And I did that, and these things come back, spring back to life. So a lot of these things we don't know could actually use for compost juice. So don't divorce from them. There's a lot of natural plants out there you can create compost juice from. What's up, the mood? What's going on?
Hey, Planter. So let me explain, because you know a lot of times stuff get lost in translation when you type in. So let me explain what I was trying to say. So I have 1.3 acres of land. That's where my house is, right? I only garden in about a 10 by 10 foot square. The other 1.7 acres, there's nothing going on it. So what I did was, when I first retired 9 years ago, I tried to plant like I was brought up in the soil. What I found out was my soil was sandy and clay. It wasn't holding anything. So I went through the whole garden year, frustration, bottom end rot, because the soil didn't have the nutrients to feed the plants. So I was like, you know what, man, forget this. And what happened was I was on YouTube watching a video and I saw this old white guy talking about square foot gardening. His name was Mel Bartholomew. So I went and bought his book, checked it out. I was like, okay, I can do that because I want to at least grow something. So I started off with peppers, cucumbers, and tomato and herbs. And the square foot thing seemed very simple to me. I use pine wood. I use 2x6 pine woods, made them 4x4 all the way around, and I built 4 boxes, and that's how I grew. And so I did that for about 5 years. And then 3 years ago, I saw another thing about going back to your soil, doing hugelkultur. And hugelkultur was where something I would learn where I don't have to water, let nature do it. Digging a 4-foot hole in the ground. So like I said, I found another part of my yard. I dug a 4 feet down, loaded logs in the bottom, loaded leaves, grass clippings, and then put the natural soil back on top of that. And I let it sit for 1 year. And so then I started growing in it. I started doing the Jamaican pumpkins and squashes in it. And it did great. The only time I had to water it, it was when they were initial seedlings. Once they took off, I didn't have to do any more watering because what I found out was they were sucking out the water from the wood that was inside the square foot. So I have never raked my yard of the leaves because I always knew the leaves were good for my soil. So my yard has never been raked. But what I was doing was I wasn't saving my leaves. I was just getting rid of them at the end of the year until I started incorporating into the soil. So I would go till the soil, put the leaves in. So I have a section of my yard now where that's all I'm doing. I'm turning the soil, I'm putting in the grass clippings, I'm putting in the leaves, and I'm letting it just sit. The only thing that I'm growing on is the 10-foot that I have, and that's the soil that I make, which is the vermiculite, the compost, and the peat moss. That's what I grow in. Now, I've been setting this soil up for the last 2 years. I have the wood chips laid down, I have the leaves, and everything is coming on. So this is now going into the 3rd year where this soil has not been touched. I just been letting it sit, getting itself up together, and then next year was my first year that I'm going to try to directly plant in the ground. I agree with you. A lot of people are talking a lot of things, but when you actually look at what they're actually doing, is it what they're saying? And some of what people are saying are not lining up with what they're telling folks. I don't tell folks to do what I do because I'm going to do what I do, right? But I understand that at some point, what happens if there's no vermiculite? What happens if there's no peat moss? What happens if you can't go buy a bag compost? So I have to get those skills necessary that I got to learn while I'm doing what I'm doing to get my soil up. So you've been doing it a while, right? So some of us, we're watching you and we saying, hey, that's how I grew up. What he's doing was how I grew up doing it. But I have to get to a point where I can get to that point. So that's what I'm doing now. I can't just jump straight from, me listening to you, talking to you, watching you having melancholy from back home and thinking I can go out there and do it because I know my soil ain't ready for it. I know this because I have attempted it. I did watermelons last year, and what happened? It rotted from the bottom because my soil wasn't ready. That lets me know my soil is missing calcium. So what I did that spot, I dug that spot up and I covered it with wood chips and leaves. That way, and then what I did, I just put this earth right back on top of all of that so it can break down. So now I did that last year at the end of summer. I'm going to attempt this year to plant watermelon in there in that same spot again, just to see how it's going to turn out. So it's like you said, time and patience from where I had it to what it's going to be this year. And then next year, it should be better. And then next year after that, it should be better. But I'm doing everything as a process. And like you said, you got to have some kind of self-discipline. And I laid myself out a plan. I know what I'm doing in my property. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we all do little videos and everything. Not everything that I'm doing in my property, I'm running my mouth about. Not everything I'm doing in my house, I run my mouth about. But I stick to my plan. My plan is I eventually want to do everything in soil, but I have to get it to where it will be able to give me viable crops. Right now, what I'm doing is giving me viable crops. And I'm going to continue to do that so I can at least have food. But until at such time as I get it, because like I said, we could wake up tomorrow and they could say, oh, all the box stores are closed. You can't get peat moss, you can't get vermiculite, you can't get compost. So you got to do all the steps to get there, and stopping what you're doing to jump to something else is not going to work. That's just my 2 cents on that. I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, and that's what you see. My thing is not to, like I said, why I start showing what I'm doing. I've been doing gardening for years, but I start showing what I'm doing because one day it hit me when someone told me they never saw a pepper tree. That hit me. I'm saying, my goodness, how could you never saw a pepper tree? That wasn't normal to me. That's when I start to show what I'm doing. And if you watch my video from day one, I have maintained the same style of growing. I have been teaching, trying to encourage people you could grow food without chemical. You see what I'm saying? But it comes with patience, discipline, and focus. It's not going to happen overnight. This is why I keep saying I'm a very experienced gardener, and I'm 10 years ahead of what I'm telling you today.
Right.
What I'm talking about is the basic of gardening. I could go into the depth of gardening that you will believe, you might, people might not understand.
Right.
The depth of it I could go in. But I'm dealing with the basic because I'm trying to get new gardeners to start gardening. And a lot of people confuse them with all these products they introduce into them. And my thing is, how could you introduce me to a product that you don't have no clue what's inside? You only read something, you don't know what's inside of it, you don't know what it's doing to soil, you don't know what it's doing to food, but you introduce into that's kind of mess with me in certain ways. This is why I create my channel to show you can do it without these things. So for the people who are interested, the videos them is there.
And I agree with you. And like you, I believe in building a natural environment. So like my yard, my neighbor to my left and right, they use all that chemicals in their yard. I'm constantly seeing them spray. So I live in between these two people, but I don't use any chemical in my yard. And I go out and test. I have wild hawks in my yard. I got squirrels. I got possums. And whenever I set a pot down and I put water, because I go test the soil, I lay down wet newspaper and I put bricks on it and I let it sit for 24 hours. Then I go back out there and lift it up. You know what's under there? Worms. So that lets me know, hey, my soil is getting where I need it to get to. So my thing is, you're right. You want to make sure that the environment that you're planting with is free of chemicals. Like I tell people all the time, and I make a joke about it, the only chemical I use is rainwater, right? Because I have catchment systems on my deck where I save rainwater. It's like my blueberries. The only thing I feed my blueberries is rainwater. I do not water my blueberries with tap water. I only do, and my blueberries are the only one that get that love. They only get rainwater. Everything else I may use tap water or whatever, but with my blueberries, I use rainwater. So I'm like you. I don't use chemical. Even grass killers, I make my own grass killer. I use vinegar and salt, and I mix those two together, and I put it on weeds that's in my driveway. So I try to be environmentally conscious of my yard, right? So when I start seeing animals that are prey and animals that are predators in my yard, I know I'm doing well. I got gophers right now digging up my yard. They're not in my neighbor's yard because they spray all that damn chemicals, but they over here. So I'm trying to do what I think is the right thing, but I also have a process where I still got to eat. So I got to do what I got to do. But you're right. As far as the chemicals, I've never been a chemical person where I just believe in doing it organic. My thing is doing the water thing. Now, there was a couple years back where there was the craze about 511. Oh, everybody was like, get the fish emulsion, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, I went on and got me some fish emulsion and tried it. It didn't really make my plants any more or any less. So I go get kelp. Kelp is natural, organic. It comes from the sea, dried out, and all I do is put it in water and feed it to my plants. And it's another organic stuff. And I know where it comes from because I went and got it. So again, the message that from, because I went back and watched all your videos or a majority of your videos from day one to now, your message has been consistent. Your message is get your soil up. And I get it. Unfortunately, a majority of us can't go like you did and say, okay, I need to get my soil up. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Because if I'm going to even if I put 70% of my energy into working on my soil, that leaves me 30% of energy to go grow food. And I just don't do that.
Okay.
I systematically plan how I do it. And that's what I got to do.
Okay. Well, if you listen to me very carefully, I always say, it didn't take me overnight. And I always say, use what you have now, and then you just keep walking on your soil. You got to grow your food. You use what you have now, but you should be walking on your soil. Meanwhile, you cannot get your soil overnight. I don't care what nobody say. 3 years, you ain't going to get it there in 3 years.
Right.
The only thing gonna happen in 3 years, what you add in, they're gonna break down. But to get that mixture and blend with the soil that you have, it takes more time.
Yep.
So a lot of information is spreading out here, and I just want the new gardeners them to be getting good information. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know what, Planter, I agree with 100% of what you say, because I get frustrated too sometimes when I watch certain videos and I see certain YouTubers pushing certain things, and I'm like, that's not good for your body. Plus, it's not good for your soil. But that is not my place to tell them. You know, I can do what I'm gonna do. That doesn't mean if somebody's pushing something that I'm gonna do it. Listen, there was a large YouTuber that invited me on his channel recently, and I was talking. And one of the things that I said on that channel was, everybody's going to do what fits their situation, and everybody's going to do what's in their best interest. I'm not going to be that person to come in and say, this is how I'm doing it, and this is the way you should do it. That's not my lane. I am going to do for me and my family what I think is organic and what's healthy and what's going to work. All right. At the same time, I'm always trying to transition off having to go buy something. If I can do something myself that I don't have to buy something that I have to put in the soil or do, then I can do it. It's just like right now. And it was something that me and you was talking about. Now that it's winter time and we transition into the spring, this is your time for experimentation. This is why I am experimenting with hydroponics. But what I did was I went and made my own hydroponic solution. I didn't go to the store. I went to the store and the guy was telling me the solution, and I was like, what's in it? He couldn't even tell me what the chemicals were. And simply all I do is I'm growing my stuff in compost tea. That's it. All it is grass clippings, wood chips, leaves, and a little bit of Epsom salt. That's it. So again, it's just a matter of what you can do when you can do it.
Right. And on this platform, we very clear on this platform where we're not telling anyone how to grow their food. We here to show people what you can do. It's different than what is going on. Not to convince you. because at the end of the day, I show everything about my garden. I'm not one of the people who only show you I plant and then harvest time. I
Right.
show you how I make my compost. I show you how I plant. I show you how I take care of them while they're growing. I show the whole thing. So I'm not here to convince anyone. Stop doing how you're doing. Do it like me. I'm here to show you how I do it. And maybe you could learn a few tricks from it. But
Right.
not to change you from what you're doing.
Right.
Yes, and I want to make that very clear.
And that's why I'm subscribed to your platform, because I like what your message was. You know what I'm saying? And I heard your message. Your message is, you ain't pushing somebody to do what you're doing. You're saying, hey, this is how I do it. I make sure my soil is solid. And if you get here, you'll be fine. But you ain't never told nobody, well, stop doing what you're doing and come do this. I've never
Right,
heard you say that. And that's fine.
right.
And that's the same message that I got. But and I only say two things. Anytime I talk about gardening to people, I said gardening is all about time and patience. If you don't have those two, don't go do no damn gardening. Because if you can't rush nothing, you can't rush your soil, you can't rush the production of your crops, you can't rush the production of your fruit. You just got to give it time and you got to give it patience. Mother Nature is going to do what she does. Period.
Okay, we'll see what I say. What do you think about worms? I think worms is a good thing to have in your garden, especially the earthworms, the worms that really benefit in your garden. Worms is amazing. I think worm is very needed in your soil because worm help create airflow. Because as much as we might know, the root of the plant need carbon dioxide. The root of the plant need air, and warm is what create that airflow. You know, so warm is important, just not the one that eating the roots. And then we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria. But you can't allow the bad to, you need both of them in your garden. But you can't allow the bad to take over the good bacteria. Then you have a problem. You see?
Planter, I'm not going to take up any more time. I just wanted to come up and say that, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say that. I got to go outside and go chop down some rotten trees right now.
All right, all right. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate that.
Hey, my pleasure, my brother.
All right, all right. All right, guys. Is any other person want to come up and ask some question? Feel free to do so. All right. Different worms do different thing. I use red wiggle for compost. Okay. Well, to what I see, guys, what I will say, use whatever you have and whatever you can. That's what I will see. While you, especially as a new gardener, but while you in gardening for a period of time, you're supposed to develop certain skill. You're supposed to develop certain things that you can keep adding and do what you got to do different things. Because this is what gardening about, learning. You always learning. You actually never stop learning. If anyone tell you they know everything, they're lying. Because you always learn something new every day. All right? So when we talk, let's go into planting now. Because our whole conversation was on the soil and building the soil. Let's get into planting now. And guys, remember, I'm not here to convince you how to plant your food. I'm just telling you how I do it, and I show the result as well. It doesn't matter what I plant. It really doesn't matter what I plant. I always plant them deep. It doesn't matter what I plant. I always plant them deep. There's a lot of benefit of planting your garden, your plants deep. There's a lot of benefit planting your plants deep. I personally, I planted my plants them at least 12 inches deep. At least 12 inches deep. And I get great result from them. So I only could tell you that. So it's up to you to try and see if it works for you. Hello, the new Arlene Gardner. How you doing? Thank you for being here. What I've learned over the years, just think for a moment. Yeah, sorry for that, guys. For my experience, for what I experienced growing food, okay? What I have experienced growing food is the deeper you plant your food, the more mineral, the more nutrients the plant's gonna get, the more deeper you plant. If you plant them too much on top of the soil, especially when you only get in hot sun, when the sun is really penetrating, what's gonna happen is the sun dries out a lot of minerals in that area. But down inside there, what happens is the sun does not get down there. So the root, even the sun is hot, burning hot, the roots still have moisture to feed from. So it's very important. The next thing why I recommend growing your garden deep, planting your plants deep. I grow pepper tree. My pepper trees, some of them grow 7 feet tall. Some of my pepper trees grow 7 feet tall, some 5 feet, some 6 feet, some 4 feet. Not much go under that. Most of my pepper trees from 4 feet up to 7 feet, right? Could you imagine if you plant that pepper 5 inches deep? Could you imagine what's going to happen there? Could you just imagine for a moment what's going to happen if your pepper tree is 5 inches deep and it's 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, loaded with peppers? What's going to happen? The weight going to pull that tree down to the ground. The root ain't grounded enough down into the soil to keep this tree up and going. So this is another example why you should plant your plants them deep. Your okra should be planted deep. Your tomato should be planted deep. All your fruit trees should plant deep. Your whatever you plant, you should plant deep. Your cabbage, if you plant them deep, better production. The next thing again, less water. The deeper you plant, less water you have to use. So there's a lot of benefit in planting your plants deep. Lots of benefit, guys. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of benefit in planting deep. I'm not here to tell you plant deep, but at least you should try. Try 1 or 2 plant and see the result for yourself. Okay? All right, Fifi is all right. So you had that experience, yeah. This is facts right here. If you grow in pepper tree a certain height, they will fall down because the root is not grounded. Your plant root, and many plants operate like that. The root supposed to be grounded. The root grounded in the soil, you stand a better chance of them producing a lot more, grow bigger, grow taller, and very successful. I'm talking from my experience. Maybe it might help someone. All right? Yes, you should say. Yes, guys. So when you're talking about planting, I will plant everything deep. I plant even my onions deep. I plant my garlic deep. I plant my ginger deep. I plant everything I plant deep. And it works really well for me. So all I'm saying is you guys could try it if you like. But what I'm going to say to you guys, if you are a gardener, especially a new gardener who trying to learn, figure out what kind of gardening you want to do. Figure that out. That's your first decision. Are you trying to go organic gardening? Are you trying to grow a garden using anything? You got to figure that out. You don't want to get mixed up. You have to figure that out. And you got to focus on doing that. Before I start my garden, I sit down and I think out the whole thing. And I was thinking in long term. I wasn't thinking in just a few years, or 2-3 years. I was thinking about years ahead. And when I look at my soil was red clay, actually red clay. And I sit down and I say, no, I'm not using no chemical in this thing. I don't want to hear nothing nobody got to say about any chemical. I take my mind off of that. And I said, I'm going to use what nature used and turn around this soil. And I did turn around the soil that if I dig 16 inches down, I still would not see clay. Yeah, and I still would not see clay. But guess what? It will not happen overnight, guys. Patient, discipline, and it will take you there. You don't want to build a garden and in a few years you got to start over. But I will go back to say, use what you have, do whatever you can, because at the end of the day, you still got to grow something to eat. But over the years while growing it, you should try to add things that you know make sense to you. You have a backyard, try to make your own little compost pile in your backyard if you can. I know a lot of people cannot do that because some people in apartment, in balcony, so it's difficult. But if you have a space in your backyard where you have leaf, where you have chilling that drop fall, you could pick them up and just put them in a pile and just leave them there. Nature will break them down for you. You don't need to add meat. You don't need to add all these things to break down compost. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen big tree trunk break down in no time. From the worms and all the bugs and all these things that nature provides, break it down without adding any form of chemical to it. Any meat, any whatever. But I'm not here to tell you not to use your meat. I'm just here to tell you there's things that can work without using certain things. Okay? I have created a soil that's red. Anything I chuck in that soil, it grow. But guys, it did not start overnight. It really did not start overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It take a while. But patience, discipline, and focus help get me there. I refuse to, I don't care what nobody say. I don't want to hear because nobody here could tell me what's in these battles. Unless you ain't make it for yourself, you cannot tell me what's in them. So I'm not interested in even hearing about these products. I see what these things did to a guy garden. I was warning him, I said, stop there, you use natural product. When these things done with the soil, you know what happened? It was like sand. It turned his soil into sand. And you know what he had us to do? He had us to start all over from scratch. All over from scratch. So my thing is, instead of waste 3-4 years, why you don't start from scratch? I start from clay soil. Clay, red clay. But because of discipline and focus, it helped me to stay away from a lot of these products. If you didn't make it, you cannot recommend it to me. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. Okay? I've seen with my own eyes what these things do to garden. And I refuse to use them. We spray, we use things and we spray our plants. These things eliminate butterfly, bees, and if you guys know how important bees and butterfly and birds are, and these things that we spraying is getting rid of them. I create my garden that the birds can feed off the bugs. So by the birds feeding off the bugs, it eliminates all these bugs up in my garden. So it saved me from running and buying sprays. You got to connect yourself with nature and watch how nature works. See how nature operates. And walk with nature. You can't walk against nature because you're going to run into a stone wall, a brick wall, because you're fighting against the natural. You're fighting against nature, trying to create something around. It ain't going to work. You will always run into brick wall. Try do it natural. Try to work out different remedies. Try to compost. You want to make composting? You ain't got to buy composting. You could make your own composting. There's a lot of weeds in your garden. Dandelion. That's composting. Elderberry. That's composting. A lot of grass in your garden that you pull out. Composting. You can make your own compost. It's very simple. Okay? Look into these things and it will save you a lot of money at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you also using natural product. All right? Thank you, Fifi Johnny. Thank you. Let the garden feed the garden if you can. Definitely. Definitely. Hello, the everyday life of an OC district. I'm fishing in up here in the garden of here. All right, all right. Thank you. I never introduce anything to my garden. If I don't grow it, it's not growing in my garden. All these things, if you did not make the product, I want to hear about it. I'm sorry. Because we out here promoting this product that we knows nothing about. We didn't make them. We didn't see them. We didn't, but we promoting them. If you notice, I don't promote anything. The only thing I promote is leaf, grass clipping, and rotten chichong. That's what I promote. We want, especially the new gardeners. We want the new gardeners who now coming in to learn to make soil in case you can't go to the store and buy soil. We want them to learn to make their own soil. We want them to learn to make their own compost. We want them to learn these natural stuff instead of introducing them to this product that we have no idea about, that we don't know. Oh, organic, yeah, organic. Oh, 75% organic. What is the other 15%? What is it, the other 15%? We don't know. So this is what I'm talking about. There's new gardeners coming out here. If you want to use your chemical, please do. That's your decision. But when come on the new gardeners, let's guide them. Let me ask them, what kind of food you trying to plant? Are you trying to grow some organic food? Or we're trying to grow whatever anything? If you did not make the product, you can't tell me it's organic. I'm sorry. It's only organic if everything inside of it is organic, natural. Well, all these other things that mix defeat the purpose. Yes, it might shoot up your plants them big. Yeah, just like the animals. You could shoot them up big in 3 weeks, but what did you feed them with? Right? It's the same thing with the plants. We could shoot them up big in 3 weeks, but what did we feed them with? There's no shortcut in gardening. You want to be successful gardener, you want to know the ins and outs, then you got to put in the work for that. And I'm going to say again, guys, sometimes in your backyard have great soil. And don't ever believe you cannot grow food in clay soil. You can. But over the years, you keep adding your leaf, and in the winter, you make sure you get your soil together in the winter, and then get it prepared for the spring. Over certain years, that clay soil gonna start changing. Patience, discipline, and focus. I have no choice but to do succession planting, because my growing season is short. Well, you got to do whatever you got to do. You got to do whatever you got to do. All right. Thank you, Fifi Johnny, for that. Yes, guys, is there anyone? Let me see. Oh, she has a question. Wait, okay. Okay, thank you. Do you do succession gardening? The honest truth, Yes, I do. I do all kind of gardening because I'm a I'm a person that tries different things. So yes, I do because I want to know about gardening, so I try different things. Gardening is not easy, Johnny, but it becomes easy and it's absolutely yes, it's not yes, it's definitely not an easy journey, especially especially when you're trying to do it a certain way. When you have a particular way you're trying to do your stuff, it could be challenging. But after you overcome, everything becomes so simple to you now because you reach a place now where you overcome. So now you actually, I'm telling you, if you garden a certain way, I'm telling you this, I don't care where you live in, Russia, wherever you live in, China, wherever. If you garden a certain way, I guarantee you, your garden will start working for itself. All you will have to do, plant what you want in your garden, and that will start working for itself. But that's how my garden is now. All I got to do, come out, plant my food, and just wait for harvest time. I do go inside and clean up from time to time, but once you do your garden a certain way, it will work for itself. The biggest thing is getting the soil together, getting your soil right. That's the biggest, that's the most important thing. Once your soil is right, everything else become natural. All right. Okay, guys, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. If anyone have any question and want to ask a question, you can come up and ask a question. I will answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. Or maybe somebody in the chat might be able to answer. This is garden season, guys. This is garden season, and we got, is a lot of people out here right now trying to learn to grow food. And I'm listening to a lot of people as well saying it's very confusing with all the information they've been getting. My thing is, you cannot gather information everywhere because you will never begin. You will never begin because some people are going to tell you, oh, this, then some people are going to tell you, oh, no, don't use that. Then some people, and it's going to confuse you. And this is what's going on. A lot of people getting confused before they even begin gardening. Before they even start, they're already confused. We want to lift that burden, make them feel comfortable. Start from the basic. All these extra things, hold on that. Let's start from the basic, walking on your soil, getting it ready for the spring. Let's get our planting going. Let's get our planting going. And and how to take care of your plants them while they're growing. You gotta let it take baby step. All these you as a new gardener. Let me say this. You as a new gardener got to know what you want and what you want to do. And you understand, if you want to grow food, if you want to grow herb, that's your decision. That shouldn't be anyone's decision. That's your decision. Then you have to decide what kind of garden you're trying to grow. Am I trying to grow organic or I'm trying to grow whatever I feel like? That's your decision. Then you got to associate yourself with the people who want to grow like you, who growing like you. All right, so then you get in that information. But if you everywhere, it's hard for you as a new gardener. The information gonna confuse you, and it's gonna make it so difficult for you to start. Starting could be the hardest part of gardening. That could be the hardest part in gardening, starting a garden. So we got to, for the new gardeners, we got to really try to know how we nurturing them, know how we encouraging them into gardening. Some people make it seem if you ain't have $1,000, you can't start gardening. Some people make it seem if you ain't got $500, you can't start gardening. Which I'm going to tell you today, you will need all that to start a garden. You buy some seed and you learn to germinate some seed. Maybe you could watch a few people videos and learn to germinate some seed. Or if you don't feel like there's other option. But I will say, start from germinating them for yourself. If you fail, then maybe the year is getting, the spring is getting close and you fail. Then there's other option. But I will recommend you starting from seed. Okay? Gardening is very rewarding. Yes, it is. It sure is. So to ask me how I do. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. So the information is there, but you got to narrow down yourself to what you want. If I decide today that I want to raise some cow, I mean, I know about cow, but I'm just talking in general. If I decide, you know what, I'm going to raise some cow, but I need to learn about cows before I buy these cows. The first thing I'm going to be thinking, what kind of cow I'm trying to raise? Because there's a lot of different breed of cow. I want to know which type of cow I want to raise. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to be looking at videos of people who actually raising the cow that I want to raise and learn from that. I'm not going to be trying to watch everybody because they're going to confuse me. They're going to make me don't want to start rearing my cow. So that's all I'm saying, new gardeners. Figure out what you want to do. Make plans of what you want to do. And everything will go great. You ain't got to have $1,000 for start a garden. You don't need it. You don't need $500 to start a garden. You could start a garden with $100 because you might have to buy some container, or you might be able to get a few pieces of wood and raise bed and build a raised bed and get some seed. So we can't scare the new gardeners with these information that they don't need right now, confusing them. Let me get them started. Because I receive email where people actually want to do gardening, but too much information. I even in tech, in chat sometimes, the information is so much. So much information. So you got to narrow down yourself to what kind of type of gardening you want to do. And narrowing yourself there. Because you will get all kind of information about the same thing. You see? I might tell you this, somebody can tell you that. I'll give you another post. You go to 100 people, 100 different ideas you get. So that could be confusing. So narrow down yourself, Start where you will able to handle. Don't try to go too big. Start where you could handle. Okay? The following year, you expand. You keep expanding. You keep expanding. Okay? I agree. Small, the most important thing. Yes, the most important thing is starting. And a lot of people did not start because of being confused. Actually, being confused with so much information is that it doesn't mean that the information ain't correct, but it's just so much from so much different people, it could confuse you. It doesn't mean what they're saying is not true, but everybody gonna give, because what? Everybody grow different. Everybody grow different. But it's always good that if you see somebody doing something and it's really working, to look into it. You see? So it's a lot of different information, how to do this, how to do that, how to do this. So you just got to narrow down yourself to what type of food you want to grow and follow people who are actually growing that food. To just start, it will get better, easier. Yes, 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 it definitely will get better over and over. The hardest thing is starting. Once you complete 1, 2, 3 years, it's gonna start falling natural for you because you're learning, and always have an open mind to gardening. Okay, new ideas. You never stop learning, but just focus on how you want to do garden, and you will advance much faster. When you confuse, it's hard it's hard to even learn. Too much information. I made super juice for my avocado tree and it works. All right. What did you use, Diversity Love? You know, gardening is pretty, yeah, gardening is pretty simple. Once you follow certain rules in gardening, it's become very simple. It could become a time where your garden will actually work for itself. You know, in my garden, is so much stuff does just grow up in my garden because a lot of seed that we believe cannot stand the cold weather, that's not true. Many seed I bury in the fall, I see them germinate in the spring. Many different type of seed. There's a plant named shisho. I had so many of them plant last year. And I allow them to grow and turn seed, and right now is hundreds of seedlings in my garden. Hundreds of sisal seedlings in my garden. You know, I surely got to get rid of them. It's too much because these things grow huge. So peppers just come back up in my garden over. I see that last year. It actually come back up. Tomato actually come back up. Squash. So there's a lot of plants you could leave in your soil over the winter and come back in the spring. A lot of seeds. I put vegetable scrap in water for a while, but by the window and use the water. All right, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things you could use and make compost juice. I can't wait for my sister to go. Oh, really? Jimama, I have hundreds of seedlings shishu eat by garden right now. Hundreds. Because the trees them get so big, and then I forgot to get rid of, take them off and get rid of the seeds. And over the winter, I guess they just spread out with the winds, and they everywhere in the garden. Yeah. So you waiting for y'all to grow. Okay. Did the Shive Zone? Oh, okay. I never see Pepper come back in my zone, but that's good to know for people in. Yes, I saw last year, for the first time, I saw a pepper tree come back. For the first time, I saw one of them come back from the seed itself. Yeah, last one, but one though, one I saw. And right, if you're not dealing with too much cold weather too, that's the thing. Like places where the earth freeze might be more difficult for that to happen. Like where the ground actually froze, yes. But if you ain't getting that coldness where you're not freezing, it could happen. It could definitely happen. Hi, Gina versus Gina. How you doing? Thank you for being here. All right. So anyone have any question? If you have any question, let me know. Hey, Brook Farm, how you doing, man? Thank you for being here. What's going on? All right. Is there any more question about gardening and planting, composting? If you guys have any question, let me know, because this is garden seasoning, and I know we all trying to have a beautiful, successful garden this year. Yeah. I don't know I know some people didn't start planting as yet. But oh yes, I already start planting herbs, onions, cabbage, broccoli. Oh yes, I already ginger. Yeah, I have a lot in the ground right now. So by the time May hit, my garden should be very, very green by that time. Okay, let me see what Gina's saying. I'm going to have to catch the replay because I know I miss a lot. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's all right. Okay. Okay. Good night, Yaya. Best life, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Okay, so anyone have any question? All right, so I'm going to move on. All right, so right now we have two beautiful planting they coming up this year. I don't know for you guys, but I do. I remember growing food with my father, right? And my father, they didn't have no book. What they use the moon. They use the size of the moon and the shape of the moon. They never had no books. And my father used to teach me about the planting days. Oh yes, planting days are bad. Oh yes, planting days. And I'm gonna do a video all alive, with planting days go right down through this year, this whole year. I did one last year. I don't think people, you know what? I don't think people pay attention to moon planting. I don't think you guys do. But you guys need to try moon planting. I did a live last year around this time, I believe, where I gave out all the days of moon planting. So I'm going to do another live. Either I do a live or I do a video with all the days in every month. In every month, all the planting days, even fruit trees. And when to prune my fruit trees, I'm going to be doing a video with that very soon. All right? Yeah. Moon planting, you guys don't know what you're missing. I'll tell you that. Okay, let me see. All right. You see, I know you don't water your plant a lot, but are you doing any rain catchment at your property? Honestly, Urban, on my shed, I had a container there, but I don't have it anymore. I had a container, but what happened is I hit it with something and it's all the water pour out and that was it. So I really I don't have no water catching at this time by my garden. No water. But for my seedlings that I'm using right now, I do catch water for the seedlings. Like I have a place for my seedling where I store my water just to wet the seedling because I don't really like use the pipe water for seedlings. I did a research. When I say experiment, my experiment, not Google, my experiment on the same plant, rainwater and pipe water. And the result was clearly different. The result was clearly different. So from that, I say my seedlings is not using no type of, I'm going to use rainwater, I'm going to save it. But in my garden could survive 3 to 4 weeks without I wet any plant. Last year, if you guys notice, I did a video with 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks where we did not get no rain. On top of the soil was dry. You know, on top of the soil was dry. But all my plants was green after 3 weeks without no water, no rain. Because I don't wet my plants then. The only plants I might wet is if I now plant them and the sun is really hot. I might go out in the morning. I might say, all right, let me wet them because they're small. But after that, that's it. No more wetting. So this is what I'm saying as well about planting deep. Planting deep save you a lot of water. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but you hit. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. I hit the barrel and all the water run out, man. I just say, you know what? I guess I need it anymore. And I never replace it. But I'm thinking about replacing it because you just never know. What I'm thinking about get the big one. The big one, that's the one I'm thinking about. And who knows, maybe I will use the match. Yeah. Yes, all my water run out, man. You see, that's why I plan ahead. I'm using rainwater. Yes, you should plan ahead. All my seedlings wet with rainwater. All of them, because what my experiment shows me something. I'm not here to tell you not to use pipe water, guys. You got to do what you can. Use what you have. But if you could use rainwater, I think you should as well. Yes, that. Yeah, but Martin, he ain't no joker though. Yes, get your barrel, you never. Yeah, get your barrel, you never know. That's true. Because let's put it this way. Say they rain for 2 months straight. You just never know what could happen. So I'm definitely gonna get the big one and try full it with rainwater. I also have, but no, I ain't gotta really do that. Because if I go way down, I got, but that's too far for jug water from. That's gonna be too far. So it's best I get the container. Yeah. Who use comfrey for fertilizer or composting? Made with comfrey. Is anyone use, oh, I'm asking a question for the chat as well. Do you guys use comfrey? All right, Jim Mama says she use comfrey. Let's see. The truth is that the plants suffer from the chemical in the city water. Ask me how I know. I really kind of believe it do the rainwater do something different to the pipe water. I really do believe that. I tried it and I see a clear difference of what was happening. Yeah. Okay, Brook Farmer say he chop and drop. And guys, chop and drop is a good way as well. You see, a lot of my plants, right? Like for instance, my okra trees, while they're growing, because they just get pretty tall, I will cut off all them bottom limb and drop them right by their root, right at their root, and let that steady and turn compost. So you could do that as well. What, you know, chop and just straight by their root right there. That's a good thing. Go and speak about it, please. About what? About what are you talking about, Fifi? About what? Speak about what? Huh? It's good to use. Do I need anything else if I'm using comfrey? Is there anybody want to come up and talk about the comfrey? Oh, I'm looking for some information. I don't like to give information about things I'm not too much that I don't use like that. It is a natural, it's a plant. Another comfrey plant. So if it's a plant you're using, I think it's good. I think it's good to make compost juice. Sometimes I do it as chop and drop. I never use it for the juice. But maybe you can. Okay, Jimama comfrey awesome and can be used alone. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm taking more comfrey from someone, so I will. Okay, all right. Because it's a natural organic. Yes, it is. It is. So if you making tea with it, it's supposed to go, because the thing is a lot of things I make compost juice with when I'm ready. When I raise a lot of things right in my garden. A lot of the things we call weed, I pull them, like pull off their head, throw them in a container with some water and leave them there for like a few weeks. And then use the water as, for the juice. You ain't really got to, man, listen to me, guys. If you have a backyard, you ain't really got to spend too much money. I'm telling you right now. The problem is we're forgetting what we have in our backyard because we so caught up with what's on the shelf. You see? We so caught up with what's on the shelf and forgot what we have in our backyard. Dandelion, beautiful plant. I use it. I use the root. I use the plant itself. And I also, it's a plant I will put as to make juice, compost tea. I will use that plant as well to make compost tea. So these are things you could use for yourself. You could use them and save the money in your pocket. Because like I keep saying, unless you did not make the product, then you can't tell me it's organic. That's what somebody said. These days, since when we could really believe what people say in a battle? Since when we could really do that? I mean, we can't sleep on these things. We can't sleep on these things. Where we come back, where we believe in everything. Come on, man. If you ain't make it, you can't say it's organic. Let me see what Jim Mama said. Comfrey tea is very strong and should be diluted before applying it to soil. All right. Okay. All right. Jim Mama said it's strong, so you're supposed to dilute it before applying it to the soil. All right. Thank you for that. I measure mine for 4 cups of compost tea to 1 gallon of water. All right. Then, you know what? That's a good idea. I do believe that everything works by measurements. I do believe that. I believe doses. Because I remember when my grandmother used to make herbs and stuff, she always had dosage. So it's a certain amount you're supposed to take, and it's the same thing with the plants. You're only supposed to apply a certain amount. And as a gardener, over the years, if you're using compost tea or whatever you use to make compost tea, you should be able to see results. You're supposed to see what is working and what is not working. I bury my comfort lead in the soil. All right, okay. That's another way. That's like Japan chop. So it's like you're burying it in the soil. But when you're making the tea might be more poking because the tea hitting the root at the same time. So it's something to look into. Yes, indeed. Dosage is very important. I do believe that. That's why you supposed to be your own scientist. Listen me, guys. I'm not worried what anyone say. I feel like I'm my own scientist. I feel like I'm a scientist when it comes to soil and gardening. That's how I feel. I didn't went to college for it, but that's how I feel. The monk, listen me, I keep saying, the level of gardening I talk about today, I'm 10 years ahead of it. I'm talking about the basic of gardening today. That's what I'm doing. You see where my focus is? The soil. That's the basic of gardening. All my experiment I already did and noted. I have everything noted. I have everything with all my experiments. So when you hear I come out here and talk, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have 10 years advance in what I'm talking about here today. 10 years advance in what I'm talking about today. You're supposed to be your own scientist in your garden. Okay. Me too. I'll try anything to save. Exactly right. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. I'm not the one who go out there just buying stuff for the garden. I want to do my garden and then spend a dime. That's the way how I design my garden. Not to spend a dime in the garden. I'm always concocting garden solution. You're supposed to. You're supposed to. I have so much information about different plants, the size of their roots. So much to share. Maybe one day I'll put it in a video. Edit it out and put it in a video. But I have a lot of information written down about gardening, about different plants. And you guys must do the same. Take notes. Take notes and go back. When you do your garden this year, you take notes and you go back to all these notes. Hey, hands in the dirt, how you doing, man? What's going on? You write down notes and you go back. When this year up, you go back and see all that you did. And when mistake me, what happened to this plant? This plant on this side wasn't doing well. So you know what? I'm going to put them on another side. You see, because you got to figure out where, if you have a garden, you got to figure out where the plant do better. You got to figure out if you plant a pepper tree in this area, right? And when you look, you see the pepper tree have 3 pepper all year. You produce 3 peppers. You got to plant. You got to move the pepper from there. The pepper did not do well at all. So when you do, you move that pepper and put it somewhere else. And then you go the following year. You see, you look and you see what it do. If better or worse. If it do the same, you move it again. Your job is to make sure your plants produce food in abundance because they have the ability for that. They're designed to produce food. Something you're doing is not right if you're not seeing that. Is either the location is not right or something you're doing is surely not right. But remember, okra, tomatoes, pepper really love hot sun. They really love hot sun. So if you want to see a pepper produce, stock it in an area where it have the most sun. All right. I'm always taking notes. I will be applying some new things this year with my garden. All right, all right, all right. Just came out the yard and the garden. Super juice got me smelling like sewage. Just dropped. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right. All right, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, the weather is beautiful, so you should definitely have some stuff going on right now, man. Yes, guys. So to become very successful, you got to put in the work, man. You got to put in the work and patience, and over the years, you should always be get better and better and better. Every year, you is no way you should be planting certain food and getting the same result every year. The only how you should be getting the same result is if it's productive. But if it's become failure, you should always try to improve. The location got to be a problem. Maybe too much hot sun. Maybe they're not getting enough sun. When you talk about watering plant, let's talk about watering plant for a minute. When I tell people there's a lot of plants out here that do not require too much water. There's a lot of plants out there only need their root to be wet and the water drain and go its way. That's all they want. The root to be wet and drain and go its way. They don't want nothing settled by their root. These are things you have to know. And how you know these things? By you paying attention to your plants. It's very, very important for you to pay attention. I check my pear and peach day. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with me. My plum have on plum right at this moment. Right at this moment, my plum tree have on plum. My peach tree, right at this moment, have on peach. You know, when I look, I said, damn. Because a few weeks, maybe it's last week or the week before, I now take out a picture with flowers. And I'm actually seeing fruits now. Yeah. So I know what you're saying. That will be a shame. This weather's so challenging. Yeah. Yeah. But peach, you know, I'm not worried about peach because I see peach really does stand some kind of cold. So, but you just never know. You just never know. With this kind of weather we get, we just never know. But I hope it ain't turn out that way. The weather will pass over. Okay, all right. I hope so. I hope so too. Yes. Yes, guys. So just at the end of the season, what I used to do, that's what I was supposed to say. What I used to do at the end of the season, like after the frost pass, what I will do, I will walk around and pull up the plants them and look at their roots. I used to do this years ago. I used to pull up their roots to see the size of their root, how big these plants grew. And this is important. This is very important, knowing the size of the root of the plant. Because, say for instance, one day you decide to do container garden, right? It will be important for you to know how big these roots get. So by you knowing that, we're going to happen, you know exactly what size container you're supposed to buy to maintain this plant. So this is for real. You walk around, well, I'm not telling you guys to do that. That's up to you. But this is how you get advanced in gardening. This is how knowledge come to you. You see what I'm saying? Because you applying yourself. By you applying yourself, these things don't just come. You got to put yourself in the way and you got to do things to gain this knowledge. So you walk out, I walk around and I just pull them up and check the roots. So if I decide to plant a pepper tree, I know exactly which size container to put it in to get it to where I want it to go. Okra tree, and I already know the size. So all these things, guys, is for successful gardening. Yes, don't get me wrong. Everybody have their own way of growing food. I understand that. I understand that. And I'm not knocking anybody's style. You do what's work for you. You do what's you check what I'm saying? But like for the new gardeners, I'm really trying to encourage them and try to, give them some ideas that they could work with. But at the end of the day, everyone have to do their own garden. And over the years, you're going to develop your own style. You see what I'm saying? Now is learning process. Now is where you learning, and you actually got to become your own scientist in your garden. And this is how you will learn a lot of different things. Meaning you got to be doing your own research, not Google, your own research in your garden, your own experiment. Sometimes you got to try 2 plants and see the result from both of them. This is why sometimes I plant peppers here, I plant peppers there, I plant them in different locations in the garden. This is why sometimes I plant okra there. I plant them all over in the garden. Why? Because you're looking for the best result. And the best result, that's where you're going to stick to. So it's always experiment. Yes, the plants them. And I'm going to tell you guys this again. There's, in my garden, there's plants. My plants speak to me. Maybe people might say, what are you talking about? But yes, they do. Signal. They give signal. Yeah, they give signal. When I say talk, I mean talking, but they give signal. My plants shows me, they give me the signal when they okay, when they're done, when I don't need to do anything to them again. My job is done. My job is just relax and wait for harvest time. They give me a green color, a certain green color they give me. They push out a green color, and that green color indicate that I'm okay. That's it. Your job is over. Just wait and harvest time. And I see that happen so many times. You guys must check that out. But how you going to know these things is paying attention, is focusing. Okay? Paying attention, focusing. This is the only how you're going to know these things or see them. Thank you, Fifi Johnny. I appreciate that. How you knocking my Fred? Okay, wait. No, I'm not really knocking Google because Google do a lot of Google have a lot of great good information. So I'm not really knocking Google. What I'm saying is, when you get information from Google, you still got to actually go and try it to see if it works, to confirm that it works. But if you do it yourself, that's confirmation for you, you see? So if you're doing your own research in your garden, that's confirmation you're getting because you're actually doing it yourself. But when you do it from Google, you still have work to do because you now have to go and actually put in the work to see if different information is factual. So I'm not really knocking Google because Google do have great information. I will not do Google that. I'm just saying sometimes we got to put in the extra work and get our result. Because when we do that, we could stand behind our words. You see what I'm saying? Like for instance, I talk about planting pepper deep, right? Or planting anything you have deep. If someone try to come up against me with that, man, I have videos with proof of what I'm talking about. So I could back what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Don't Google. Get the information yourself. But I'm not knocking Google, guys. If there's where you could get your information, go for it, okay? Google don't have a good soul. Yes. It's just let your garden be your teacher, man. That's what I want to tell you. It teaches. We just got to be aware of the teaching and open up ourselves to the teaching and knowing that our garden is also our teacher. That's what we got to do. Our garden is also our teacher. We is not the teacher for the garden. Remember that. Don't put it the opposite way. We is not the teacher in the garden. The garden teaches us. Remember that. The garden teaches us. So be a student in your garden. Okay? And once you be a student, you open up your mind to learning. Then this plant will actually show signal when something ain't right. Their leaf they will start showing signal in their leaf. So our job is paying attention, doing our own research in our garden. Every year, if you got to take notes, you see, Gina says she taking notes. Do whatever you got to do. Gina versus Gina says she taking notes. You have to take notes about the year before. Because the following year, you want to get better. You want to do better. Like now, I have rotated my crop them so many times that I come to the conclusion now where each plant strive better. So I know already where I'm planting my cabbage, where I'm planting my okra, where I'm planting my garlic, where I'm planting my onion, I already know. Because I've been rotating my crop for so many times that now I come to the conclusion where I know exactly where to plant your soil, your plants. And guys, don't forget, you need your earthworms in your soil. Protect your earthworms. You need them. They're very well needed. Protect them. Protect the butterflies. Protect the bees. We much needed. The birds. Let the birds be the cleaner of your garden. Let the birds feed their babies with the bugs, the worms that eating out your plants. Prepare a way in your garden for the birds to land and relax and shake the feather, pick their feather. While they're there, they will be seeing the worms, the bugs that eating on your plants, and they will take them and feed their babies with them. So your job become easier. You see what I'm saying? You let the garden work for itself. You ain't got to be worrying about bugs. This is how you got to set up your garden, where all you got to do is plant, and you go in there from time to time and clean up. but the plants them gonna actually take care of their own self. The birds gonna take care of the bugs. The butterfly and the bees gonna do the pollination for you. That's how I do it, and it works for me. All I'm saying, guys, try something. Once you have the space, you have a backyard, you have leaf falling in your backyard, rake them up and just push them in a corner and just leave them there. You ain't got to add no bone, you ain't got to add no meat, you ain't got to add nothing. Just leave them right there in that corner, and I guarantee you, a few months later, you go through these leaves, you're going to see worms, you're going to see all kind of bugs running up inside there that you never had there. Okay? So, it all goes on the type of gardening you want to do. It depends on the individual, what type of gardening you want to do. Okay? That's where you got to start. And from there, you move on. You're doing container garden, make sure the container is too big. Not too small. Too big will work. And it mightn't be too big, because the more room roots get, is the more they will spread. Okay, you know what I'm saying? You want to use, you prep yourself the year ahead for the following spring. Use the spring garden, the winter and the fall to prepare your soil for the spring. Use your containers if you're a container gardener. Leave your container them outside if you can. You have the space. You're able to do that. Leave them outside, let the rain, let the snow, let everything beat them. And if you want to take out some and add new soil, you could do that in the fall. Leave it there with the snow, the winter, whatever thing beat them, just leave them there. And in the spring, you're ready to plant. Don't wait till the spring to now running and buy compost or now trying to put leaf in your raised bed or trying to do this. Do all this the year ahead. Make life easier for you. Your plants will enjoy more because that thing will be breaking down already. I don't know if you notice, sometimes you go and buy stuff, and when you look, you're still seeing wood. You actually seeing wood inside of these things. Wood take time to break down. This is not going to feed a plant anytime soon, because these are still actual wood that actually need breaking down. So you can't wait till spring to go look for these things. You got to get your stuff together in the winter. And once you get your stuff together, you basically good. You're relaxing, you're waiting. Like me, all I'm doing is planting right now. I already do what I had to do last year. So I'm just planting now. I know there's a lot of people still going through the cold weather, and I know might be able to plant in June or May. But guess what? Get your raised bed together meanwhile. Get your container together meanwhile. So by the time that time comes, you're ready to go. You plant them, the food is already there for the plant. This is why a lot of people you go and get different things for the plants too. Because they wait till spring, and then when they realize June, July, their plants still ain't reach nowhere. You see? So now what they have to do is go buy other things to boost them up. Because what they plant them in is not giving them no nutrients. So they have to go and boost them up with other things. But if you prepare your soil months ahead, it's a whole lot different. Okay? All right. I'm 16 minutes behind in the chat because I had a call, but I'm still listening. No problem, GT, no problem. We appreciate that. So is anyone want to have any question? Okay, I'm going to put in the invitation one another time in case anyone want to come and ask any question, because this is gardening season and I understand there's a lot of questions. People been asking a lot of questions, so I'm just giving the opportunity today in case you want to come up and ask a question. You know, that's cool. All right, thank you, I appreciate that. All right. Okay, all right, nobody want to come up. All right, so we talk about soil and we talk about planting, we talk about growing food. We talk about that. And let's go into harvesting for a little moment. Let's talk about harvesting for a little. Harvesting. I've learned something since I was a little boy. I've learned something about harvesting. I've learned, I don't know for other people, but what I have learned that you should never harvest anything on a full moon, especially if you're trying to save them. If you're trying to cook right away, it's different. If you're trying to save them, you should start, is either you do it before the full moon or you do it after the full moon when the moon starts going back. Because the brightness of the moon takes a lot of things from the plant. The brightness, the moon when it's full, it brings the plant to a certain place. If you notice, bamboo, I'm sure you guys are familiar with bamboo. Hey, good night, Sylvia. How you doing? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. Will I need to bring my seed in the temp? In 40 degrees? Yeah, maybe you should bring them inside, yes. If you have them outside in 40, or if it might go under 40, you got to be careful. 40 ain't going to freeze them, but if you're scared that it might go under, you should bring them in just to be on the safe side. And that depends on the kind of seedling you have as well. Because right now, I have tomato grow up, and they're dealing with the cold weather right now. I have seedling outdoor that actually growing right now, dealing with the weather. So it depends on the kind of seedling you have. But for be on the safe side, maybe you should bring them in for a little until the weather get higher, just to be on the safe side. Okay. Like for instance, bamboo. I know everybody should be familiar with bamboo. If you cut bamboo on a full moon, they always used to tell you never cut a bamboo on the full moon. Because we used to use bamboo to make decking, like if you're building a house and you want to pour the concrete, you know, they just deck up underneath. They used to use bamboo for decking. You love listening to the bush? All right, all right. No problem. We appreciate you. All the silent supporter, we appreciate you guys. All right, all right. No problem. I'll be listening in the bushes. All right. Yes. So they used to use the bamboo to make the decking to pour the concrete on top. But they always say never cut bamboo on a full moon. And what used to happen when they cut bamboo on a full moon, the bamboo used to turn to dust very fast. You should naturally just start decaying, turn to dust. So you're supposed to cut the bamboo before the full moon or after the moon full and going back. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with harvesting food. It's the same thing. You're not supposed to harvest on a full moon. Do your own research on that, guys. All right? I've learned from that and it's actually facts from what I see. But you do your own research and see how it works for you. Harvest some before full moon and harvest some on the full moon. And just see the result you get from both of them. I already did it and I see for myself. I bring them in. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think she should bring them in. I think she should, just to be on the safe side. Bamboo does rot in. Exactly. Bamboo rot and start decaying very fast in a full moon. And whether you used to use bamboo for as well to make beds to plant food on, like lettuce, tomato, hot peppers, cabbage. They used to, like after ground, they used to build like stand off the ground with bamboo. So you want to make sure you ain't cut them on full moon that they could last for a long period of time. So that's something I want to share about harvesting food, especially you trying to, and even though you want to eat them, you should either before the full moon or wait till the moon full and going back. I believe you get more nutrition out of your food in that time. I do believe that. So that's something for look into. Do some research on that. Okay? Not telling you to do it. But if you feel like, check it out. Do some research. Okay. And next thing about harvesting, when you harvesting, what I've learned as well, that's another experiment for me. When you harvesting, you make sure you never pick, like you picking tomatoes, right? And even the ripe, you never pick all the tomatoes. You always leave one to bring in the others. You have pepper, always leave to bring in the others. They make the start ripe very fast. So you don't pick all the ripe one, you leave one on the tree or 2 trees to bring in the others pretty fast, especially you know you have a growing season and it's short and you try and forget your stuff together. Yes, leave some that they could bring in the others fast. That's another thing I try already and see it works. In order for see these things work, you got to try them on different trees. You have to be your own scientist in your garden. And don't make no one tell you you are not a scientist. No one tell you got to go to college to be a scientist. You could be your own scientist once you're doing research. Once you're doing your own research and getting results, real results, yes. Our parents and grandparents planted and harvested by the moon for ages. Yes, that's how people do this. You see, technology has come so far. But the way people used to know time, how we used to know at 12 o'clock is when our shadow is in front of us. Just like how they set up the 12, where everything, when it's right on the 12 like this, it's 12 o'clock. That's how your shadow used to be right in front of you on 12 o'clock. So you know exactly when it's 12 o'clock. That's how these people operate. Because they didn't have watch, and they got to figure out how. What time is it? So you see, because of technology and everything these days, it really messes with us. Now we become dependent than independent. You see what I'm saying? We always got to depend on something. But these people used to actually watch the moon, watch the sun, and this is how they do things. But technology has really put us to another place. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoying this information. I hope this information will help someone. I hope there's a lot of new gardeners that can get this kind of message, because I'm really trying to encourage people to actually plant something. And guys, don't forget the Herb Garden Challenge. Don't forget on the 15th, no, on the 25th, on the 25th is for your other upload. All right? Yes, I know how to tell the time without. Yeah, and this ain't no joke. This ain't no joke. Actually was telling time without clock, without watch. Yes. Yes, guys, I hope you guys enjoy this live today. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming out. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for all the support. I appreciate you guys. This is garden season, and I do not mind sharing the information that I know. But at the same time, I only could share the information how I grow my food. I cannot share about how I see other people. I only could share how I grow my food. So if you're interested in how I grow my food, you could always check out my videos, or there's a lot of information in these videos. A matter of fact, every video I have loaded with information. Every one of them. Loaded. So I got to say, all right, let me see. All right, you welcome, Diversity Love. Hi, Texas Lala, how you doing? What's going on? Also, my dog can tell. Also, my dog can tell time. They get mad if I'm late. Right, exactly. I agree with that. I agree with that. Animals also know the time, especially when you feed them a certain time. They already know that time. They know that said time. I'm sure a lot of you know that. These dog animals are very smart. All right, guys. So thank you guys for coming out today. Thank you, The Mood, for coming up. I appreciate you guys. Guys, don't forget to hit this like button. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I believe I will be doing this more often. I will be going live more often because there's a lot of new gardeners out here that I'm trying to encourage how to start their garden, and especially if they're trying to grow an organic garden. I'm all here to help, motivate, and encourage you guys to grow a healthy garden. I'm also here to help you guys turn your soil into a different type of soil by just adding leaf, grass clipping, and tree trunk. I'm all here to help in however form I can to motivate and to encourage you guys. Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate everybody who come in this live tonight. Fifi, Johnny, Diversity, Love, Lala, Texas Lala, OG Living Life, Sylvia, Fifi, Johnny, Gina versus Gina, Cassinja South Fulton, GT Jr., Hands in the Dot, OG Living Life, G Mama Grows, Brook Farmer. Thank each and every one of you guys for coming on. Urban Gardening. If I miss anyone, I'm sorry. But still, thank you guys. Thanks all the silent supporters as well for coming out. Truly appreciate you guys. And you all are welcome to be here. Oh, thank you, the Everyday Life. Thank you, Sam. 146. Thank each and every one of you guys for coming out tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. All right. You guys have a blessed and wonderful night. Enjoy. All right. Peace, love, and blessing to each and every one of you. All right. Good night, everyone.